With just 4 minutes left before we move to qualification, there is not long left for these drivers to finish their preparations.
If there is still time on the clock, there is still time to improve.
Kevin MkII is on his practice out lap. It's a lovely day for racing here at Brands Hatch GP as we watch these drivers warm up and get ready for the race. Kevin MkII is on his first practice flying lap. Malero has a best lap time of 1:33.429.
The time clock can be a cruel mistress that is all too willing to show you your faults.
Malero posted 1:54.346 on his last lap, and will be pushing hard for an even lower time.
There is always more time to be found, but Malero is not guaranteed to find it.
Malero has a best lap time of 1:33.429. With just 2 minutes left before we move to qualification, there is not long left for these drivers to finish their preparations.
Simon is not giving up and will be looking for every 10th.
Simon of the Desert has a best lap time of 1:34.771. Simon of the Desert posted 1:34.771 on his last lap, and will be pushing hard for an even lower time. David just posted a 1:44.580 crossing start finish. David Zahn has a best lap time of 1:31.096.
If there is still time on the clock, there is still time to improve.
David Zahn has a best lap time of 1:31.096. Malero posted 1:31.400 on his last lap, and will be pushing hard for an even lower time. With just 1 minute left before we move to qualification, there is not long left for these drivers to finish their preparations. Malero has a best lap time of 1:31.400. Simon of the Desert has a best lap time of 1:34.771.
The time clock can be a cruel mistress that is all too willing to show you your faults.
Simon of the Desert posted 1:34.771 on his last lap, and will be pushing hard for an even lower time. Simon just posted a 1:34.771 crossing start finish.
There is always more time to be found, but Simon is not guaranteed to find it.
David Zahn has a best lap time of 1:31.096.
Zahn is not giving up and will be looking for every 10th.
Kevin Lekmansky has a best lap time of 1:32.772. With just 0 minutes left before we move to qualification, there is not long left for these drivers to finish their preparations.
If there is still time on the clock, there is still time to improve.
Narwhal is in Hawthorne's Bend. Narwhal is getting to grips with the ASRL T70 MkII Spyder in this practice session. Narwhal is on his first practice flying lap. Assad Extreming is on his practice out lap. Here we go, folks. The atmosphere is electric as the drivers prepare to unleash their machines at Brands Hatch GP for the qualifying session.
Strap in, folks, because we're in for a wild ride.
It looks like Malero is getting ready to make his move. He's taking his time to warm up those tires and get everything just right.
It's all about finding that balance between staying calm and focused, while also pushing the limits.
That ASRL T70 MkII Spyder looks good driving through Druids Bend. Malero is keeping his head down through Pilgrim's Drop.
To see the best action, you can't go wrong here at Pilgrim's Drop.
Malero is driving through Dingle Dell. Narwhal is on his out lap. Narwhal is expertly commanding that car through Hawthorne's Bend. Narwhal is looking relatively composed going through Sterling's Bend.
There's not much better than sitting near here and watching the cars speed by.
You can feel the tension building. MkII is out on track and getting ready to push for his qualifying time. MkII is working his way through.
I have always loved this section of the track.
MkII is keeping his head down through clearways.
Don't forget to check out the views near clearways, they are fantastic.
This is where the mental game comes into play. Kevin Lekmansky is taking his time to prepare for his qualifying run.
This is the moment he's been preparing for. Let's see if he can execute.
Kevin Lekmansky appears focused and prepared driving through Hawthorne Hill.
Spectators near here can smell the smoke wafting from nearby grills.
The pressure is on in this qualifying session, but David Zahn is rising to the occasion.
It's always impressive to see a driver in the zone like this Hal. Let's see if he can maintain this pace.
It's clear that MkII is pushing his car to the very edge of traction on this qualifying lap.
Absolutely. MkII is showing the world what he's made of.
There are just over 10 minutes left in this qualification session. David Zahn is now up 4.51 in Pilgrim's Drop.
This is where drivers have to decide to push for more or just try to maintain it.
That ASRL T70 MkII Spyder looks good driving through Dingle Dell.
The ASRL T70 MkII Spyder is indeed a sweet-ass looking ride.
MkII is on his first flying lap. MkII has completed that flying lap in 1:31.277, which is good enough for P2, down 0.46 to the leader. It's all about precision and speed in qualifying, and David Zahn is nailing both.
David is indeed a rare breed. It takes a special kind of driver to thrive under this kind of pressure.
David Zahn has completed his first flying lap in 1:30.644. Kevin Lekmansky will be looking to use his first hot lap to set a solid time in the standings. Kevin Lekmansky is 9.97 up driving through Sheen Curve. Kevin Lekmansky just clocked a 1:32.150, 1.506 off of P1 and good enough for P4. Let's see if he can improve on that time further. MkII has improved by 0.76. MkII is expertly commanding that car through clearways. MkII is currently on provisional pole, with a time of 1:30.353. Kevin Lekmansky is up 0.65. Kevin Lekmansky is driving through Pilgrim's Drop and is up 0.63. Kevin Lekmansky has improved by 0.54 up through Dingle Dell.
If Lekmansky looks at that delta too much, it may end up being a distraction, and all that time he found may be lost.
Kevin Lekmansky is driving through Clark Curve. Kevin Lekmansky will be happy, with a time good enough for fourth in this qualifying session.
Every fraction of a second counts. He is surely working on that 0.563 gap to pole.
The adrenaline is pumping. Ryan Wilson is on his out lap, warming up the tires and getting ready to put in a fast lap time. Ryan Wilson is working his way through Westfield Bend.
Fans sitting near Westfield Bend get some of the best views of the action.
Narwhal is now up 0.32. Narwhal is looking relatively composed going through Graham Hill Bend. Narwhal appears focused and prepared driving through Hawthorne Hill.
There's a great spot near here to kick back with a cold drink and enjoy the beauty of it all.
Narwhal is currently up 0.17 going through Dingledell. Narwhal has some work to do, as his best time of 1:33.525 is only good enough for 6.
There's at least 3.172 seconds to be found, but Narwhal may be looking for it in the wrong places.
There are just over 5 minutes left in this qualification session. Kevin Lekmansky is expertly commanding that car through Druids Bend. Narwhal has improved by 0.11. Narwhal is now up 0.75 in Hawthorne's Bend.
There's no guarantee that Narwhal can maintain this delta through the rest of the lap.
Kevin Lekmansky is keeping his head down through Sterling's Bend.
Fuel, fumes, fans, and fights, Sterling's Bend has it all.
Kevin Lekmansky will be happy, with a time good enough for third in this qualifying session. Simon of the Desert is 0.19 up driving through Surtees Bend. The pressure is on in this qualifying session, but Ryan Wilson is rising to the occasion. That ASRL T70 MkII Spyder looks good driving through Cooper Strait.
The action and glory drivers have lived here at Cooper Strait is truly historic.
Ryan Wilson is driving through Hawthorne's Bend and is up 29.15.
Wilson needs all the focus and resolve he can muster to maintain this pace.
Simon of the Desert has found an extra 0.11. Simon of the Desert is driving through Druids Bend.
When I get some free time after the race, I'm going to park my pudding near Druids Bend with a nice drink and some friends.
This is what it's all about. Ryan Wilson is putting everything he's got into this qualifying session. Ryan Wilson has just completed that lap in 1:40.456, which is 10.193 off the best time, putting him in P7.
Let's see if he can put a good marker down.
Simon of the Desert is looking relatively composed going through Hawthorne's Bend.
If Simon listens closely, the sounds of cheering fans should just barely be audible over the roar of the engine.
It's clear that Gregory Myers is pushing his car to the very edge of traction on this qualifying lap.
It's certainly exciting to watch, but let's not forget, the goal is to secure a good starting position for the race.
Gregory Myers has improved by 6.33 up through Westfield Bend.
If Myers gets greedy, this delta could go from green to red in the blink of an eye.
Gregory Myers is expertly commanding that car through Clark Curve.
This is such a great track. I need to make it back here more often.
Gregory Myers has completed that flying lap in 1:34.318, which is good enough for P7, down 4.055 to the leader. What a performance from MkII, currently in second on the grid. It's a good spot for now, but other drivers are trying their hardest to put in a better time and push him down the order.
You're absolutely right, Hal. MkII's current position of second reflects his strong qualifying performance. Now, he'll need to strategize to capitalize on this starting position.
Ryan Wilson has just completed that lap in 1:40.456, which is 10.193 off the best time, putting him in P7. A solid qualifying performance by Simon of the Desert, positioned in 5th. The question now is whether he can make further progress and challenge the frontrunners.
Great analysis, Hal. Simon has shown excellent pace to secure 5th. Now, the focus shifts to whether he can use that track position to his advantage in the race.
Simon of the Desert appears focused and prepared driving through Sheen Curve. Simon of the Desert will be happy, with a time good enough for 5th in this qualifying session. Simon of the Desert is off the pace 0.14 at Druids Bend.
This isn't looking good. Hopefully he can improve on the next flying lap.
A solid performance from Ryan Wilson, currently holding down P8. However, with the session coming to a close, he'll need to find that extra bit of speed to move up the grid. Ryan Wilson will be happy, with a time good enough for 5th in this qualifying session. And there goes Simon of the Desert, currently in P6. He's shown great skill and consistency so far, but with a few minutes left, there's still a chance to improve on that time.
Spot-on analysis, Hal. Simon is positioned well in 6th. It's crucial for him to maintain his focus and defend his position in the upcoming race.
A strong showing from Stefano Amadei as he's currently in 9th. With the session drawing to a close, he'll need to dig deep and find that extra burst of speed to improve.
I couldn't agree more, Hal. Stefano has done a fantastic job to claim 9th. The challenge now is to convert this opportunity into a strong race result.
Currently in 7th, Narwhal has displayed promising speed during the qualifying session. The real test lies in whether he can convert this performance into a higher grid position. Impressive display by Kevin MkII, currently sitting in P3. He's set a competitive time, but the question remains whether he can push even harder to secure a better starting position. It's a very still day here at Brands Hatch GP, as we're getting ready to kick things off. MkII will be feeling confident starting from pole position.
He can't get cocky. This is ASRL, and anything can happen.
Mellero has a great opportunity starting on the front row.
He will have to be smart about his moves. He must not burn out too early.
Kevin MkII will look to make a splash from the 3rd position on the starting grid,
putting that ASRL T70 MkII Spyder into prime position for the race.
David Zahn has qualified 4th.
He's going to have to be quick out of the blocks to keep up with the top performers.
Ryan Wilson is going to be starting from 5th.
Wilson is hoping for a strong result.
The 6th place on the grid belongs to Simon of the Desert, a driver with plenty of experience.
Simon will be expecting to bring home solid points.
Lining up in 7th is Narwhal.
An opportunity for some good points today, but the others aren't going to make it easy.
Gregory Myers will be looking to gain ground quickly, starting from 8th on the grid.
Sometimes the underdog can surprise you. Let's see what he's got in the tank.
The 9th starting position belongs to Stefano Amadei, who will be looking to make up ground early on. Sitting in 10th is Lucas Crow.
Don't count Lucas Crow out yet. He's got the skills to pay the bills.
The green flag is out and the drivers are off. You know what, Ada? This is what it's all about.
Staying out of trouble in these early moments is crucial. It's a fine line between pushing hard and staying safe.
Races are often more about maintaining consistency than having outright pace, but it doesn't hurt to have a little good luck every now and then. Is there a better sight than a field of elite racing drivers battling for position?
What a beautiful day for racing here at Brands Hatch GP. This is going to be good to watch.
It's brilliant to see such a full grid here today.
With this motley bunch of drivers, there is bound to be drama. I just hope we don't miss it.
The racing is normally closely fought here at Brands Hatch GP. I think we are in for a cracking race.
It's always intense racing here at Brands Hatch GP. Hold on to your hats, folks.
Narwhal looks like he got off to a flying first lap, gaining places straight out of the gate.
They say fortune favors the bold, and Narwhal is certainly proving that with this explosive start.
Stefano Amadei can be very proud of that start and gaining position so early.
If Stefano can keep this up, he might become the star of the show today.
The race is really heating up. Kevin Lekmanski is hunting down Stefano Amadei with everything he's got. Hold up, breaking info. Oh dear, Narwhal has had an incident.
It's a game of strategy now as Lekmanski hunts down Stefano. Yes, it's all about choosing the right moments to push and when to conserve energy, waiting for the perfect opportunity to strike.
The battle for P3 is heating up as Lucas Crow tries to catch Kevin Lekmanski in P3.
With just 0.3 seconds between them, Lucas Crow will need to close the gap to have hopes of a pass.
This is a thrilling battle as Stefano Amadei edges closer to Lucas Crow in their fight for P4.
We'll have to wait to see if Stefano can use the draft to his advantage, or if the lack of downforce will hinder his progress.
Look at that, Gregory Myers is hot on the tail of Stefano Amadei.
Myers is really pushing the limits. He's riding the curbs and hustling that ASRL T70 MkII Spyder like a boss.
These drivers are battling hard for this position, each one trying to outsmart and outmaneuver the other. The gap between Malero and MkII is growing. It's now up to 0.3 seconds.
Malero needs to get it together to make a dent in that gap.
The pursuit is on. Stefano Amadei is working on that gap to David Zahn, determined to claim P7. Hold up, breaking info. Looks like that's a mistake from Ryan Wilson. This could be costly. The fans are on the edge of their seats. It doesn't get any closer than this. Wait. An impressive showing from Kevin MkII, who has gained positions and left Simon of the Desert in the dust.
Definitely, but there's still a long way to go in this race, and anything can happen. Kevin needs to keep driving with focus and intensity. If Kevin gets any closer, he might as well ask Simon for a piggyback ride.
Looks like Malero is really hitting those curbs aggressively, which can unsettle the car and cause handling issues.
Indeed, taking too much curb can upset the car's balance, leading to oversteer or understeer. The gap between them is just over 0.5 seconds. Can Malero close that gap and get back in range? I can't see it happening at this point.
David Zahn is on a mission, chasing Simon of the Desert, who's desperately trying to stay ahead.
David needs to focus to have a chance at getting past Simon.
Gregory Myers is looking for a way round Kevin MkII.
If Myers gets too close, he might end up taking the paint off.
Simon of the Desert is placed 6th at the moment, and hoping to keep his distance ahead of David Zahn, who is 0.3 seconds behind. Stop the press. That won't be ideal for Malero. It's a tight race with Simon of the Desert in 6th, just managing to stay ahead of David Zahn in 7th by a margin of 0.2 seconds. Breaking update. A setback for Simon of the Desert, who has just been passed.
That's got to hurt. Simon needs to get back on the line and minimize the damage.
The track conditions are looking good here today. The drivers will be able to push the cars to the limit, and it's going to make for some exciting racing. This is a thrilling moment in the race, with David Zahn in 6th defending his position with everything he's got. But Simon of the Desert is relentless, and the gap is less than 0.1 seconds. It's anyone's position at this point. Hold the phone. This is not looking good for David Zahn. He's just lost 6th to Simon of the Desert. At this point his strategy seems to be failing him.
You're right. Zahn in 6th needs to stay cool under pressure and make every move count. But Simon is a fierce competitor, and won't give up without a fight.
The pressure is on as Stefano Amadei tries to catch up to David Zahn.
This is where every inch counts. Stefano is pushing hard to close the gap on Zahn. Absolutely. Precision and control are key here. Knowing when to push and when to hold back can be the difference between winning and losing.
David Zahn is looking to take advantage of that slipstream being so close to Simon of the Desert. That's going to provide the extra speed to challenge for the position. The battle is on for Simon of the Desert. He's sandwiched between two rivals, Zahn 0.1 seconds away and MkII 0.2 seconds ahead. It's a true test of his racecraft. Oh, this is getting intense. David Zahn is just a few car lengths behind Simon of the Desert.
I would not be surprised to see him get this pass completed soon.
Things are heating up as MkII closes in on Gregory Myers. The gap between them is down to practically nothing. It's not looking good for MkII, who is still behind Gregory Myers, and the gap is increasing.
MkII needs to focus and keep pushing, even when things aren't going his way. If he can close the gap down, he may be able to bring the fight to Myers.
David Zahn is pushing really hard, but as we know, pushing too hard can lead to other mistakes, like locking up the brakes or missing a shift.
You can see that car bouncing around as it rides the curbs. It's a risky move that could end in disaster.
This is where the skill and precision of the drivers really comes into play. MkII is chasing Gregory Myers in P4.
MkII is looking to close the 0.3 second gap and make a pass.
Every move counts now as David Zahn works to reel in Simon of the Desert and overtake for P6. Things are heating up as MkII tries to close the gap to Gregory Myers.
It's a fine line between pushing the car to its limits and losing control. MkII is really walking that fine line.
This is where the race gets really interesting. David Zahn is closing in on Simon of the Desert.
Don't forget the role of aerodynamics. Dave should use slipstreaming to his advantage and close the gap to Simon.
Pushing too hard can lead to mistakes, and we're seeing that now. That car is really unsettled from being pushed for every last bit of speed. It looks like we might get a battle between MkII and Gregory Myers. Hold on a second. Great driving from MkII, who has just gained a place and moved up to 4th.
Amazing stuff. Focus and precision, what it's all about. This is what racing is all about. Hard-fought battles with as much determination as respect, between friends and enemies alike.
This is getting exciting. David Zahn is looking for any gap that might open up the position. David Zahn is looking for an opportunity to get around Simon of the Desert.
If you don't push the boundaries, you will never know where they are.
This one's going to be tough. Simon of the Desert is getting his elbows out, and there may not be enough time left for David Zahn to make a move. Some great driving from Simon of the Desert, who has increased his lead over David Zahn and is starting to put some distance between them.
That's a really strong performance from Simon. He's not giving Zahn any chances to catch up.
The battle for P6 is heating up as David Zahn tries to catch Simon of the Desert in P6.
The mental game is just as important here. Zahn must keep his cool while putting pressure on Simon.
We got a close battle as Gregory Myers closes in on MkII.
When I was racing, we had a saying, if you're not living on the edge, you're taking up too much space. Myers is definitely living on the edge today.
Looks like we might have a great battle starting here between Simon of the Desert in 6th and David Zahn. It's been tense with a gap of only 0.3 seconds. This is a thrilling battle as David Zahn edges closer to Simon of the Desert in their fight for P6. It looks like Simon of the Desert is pulling away from David Zahn. The gap is continuing to grow as they head through Brabham Strait. The race is really heating up. Gregory Myers is hunting down Simon of the Desert with everything he's got. It's not going to plan for Gregory Myers, who is trailing behind Simon of the Desert and the gap is widening. He may not have an answer for this right now. These drivers are walking a razor's edge between pushing the limits and making costly errors.
Absolutely. It's all about finding that sweet spot where you're pushing the car to its limits without crossing the line into reckless driving.
No room for error here. Gregory Myers is breathing down the neck of Simon of the Desert, waiting for the perfect chance to make his move. Look at that. David Zahn is hot on the tail of Gregory Myers. David Zahn appears to be losing ground on Gregory Myers. He'll need to pick up the pace a bit heading into Westfield Bend to get a good exit and gain some ground. Hold up. Breaking info. I don't think that's the fastest way around Brands Hatch GP.
Oops, Zahn is going to be wishing that hadn't happened.
Malero is trying his best to catch Kevin Lekmansky.
He's got his work cut out for him, that's for sure.
The gap between Malero and Kevin Lekmansky is widening. It's now up to 1.1 seconds.
This is where the mental toughness of Malero comes into play. He'll need to stay focused and keep pushing, even when things aren't going his way.
Wait. Oh dear, MkII has had an incident.
MkII is not going to be happy about that.
Malero is staying focused while chasing Simon of the Desert in P4. Good news for Malero, the gap to Simon of the Desert has decreased. It's now down to 0.6 seconds. Stop the press. This is a tough break for Ryan Wilson. He just lost P6 to Stefano Amadei.
That's right, he's got to stay focused and not let this setback affect his mindset. Meanwhile, Stefano is showing some incredible skill and determination, and is now a serious threat to the other drivers on the track.
We're watching Ryan Wilson in 6th, and is currently being hounded by Stefano Amadei with a gap of just 0.2 seconds.
Absolutely, Ryan in 6th is doing a fantastic job of maintaining his lead, but he can't afford to make a single mistake. Stefano is looking for any opportunity to make a move. This could be a battle to the finish line.
Looks like Malero is really hitting those curbs aggressively, which can unsettle the car and cause handling issues. Hold up, breaking info. Now I may be wrong here, but I'm not sure that's the racing line.
It's a real shame. Until this point in the race he'd been looking at a decent result. Indeed, taking too much curb can upset the car's balance, leading to oversteer or understeer.
Oh, this is getting intense. David Zahn is just a few car lengths behind Gregory Myers. Malero is pushing really hard, but as we know, pushing too hard can lead to other mistakes, like locking up the brakes or missing a shift. It looks like Malero is making a move. The gap to Simon of the Desert is now down to 0.3 seconds.
That's a great effort from Malero. He'll need to keep up the pressure and see if he can make a move.
Braking alert. It's a tale of two drivers right now, with David Zahn gaining places and Gregory Myers losing them. David Zahn is giving it his all, chasing down Gregory Myers in P6.
Sometimes you have to take risks to win, but pushing the car too hard can be a costly mistake. Zahn needs to be careful not to overdo it.
The pursuit is on. Malero is closing the gap on Simon of the Desert, determined to claim P4.
The gap between them is just over 0.4 seconds, which can feel like miles if you're trailing and not catching up.
The gap between Malero and Simon of the Desert is growing. It's now up to 0.6 seconds. The drivers are showing their mettle today. It's a privilege to witness their skill on this challenging track.
The stakes have never been higher. This is a battle of skill and nerves.
That's right. These drivers are really pushing themselves to the limit, and it's incredible to see the level of focus and determination they're bringing to the track. Hold on a second. Looks like that's a mistake from Gregory Myers. This could be costly.
Absolutely. It takes a lot of courage to compete at this level, and these drivers have it in spades. Let's hope they can keep it up and give us a race to remember.
Simon of the Desert is looking for a way to close that gap to Lucas and Crow. Simon of the Desert is pushing hard and has reduced the gap to Lucas and Crow to 0.8 seconds. Things are going according to plan for Narwhal, who is currently 9th. Braking alert. Superb driving from Narwhal, who with that overtake has gained a position in the race.
Absolutely. Narwhal is really putting on a clinic out there, and he's making it look easy.
It's all about consistency for MkII, who is currently 1st. Wait. Disappointing for MkII, falling down the order to 2nd.
Yes, but there's still plenty of race left. MkII needs to stay calm and focused, and make his move when the time is right.
Oh dear, MkII has dropped down to 3rd.
Definitely, but MkII is a skilled driver, and has what it takes to fight back and regain that position.
It's looking good for Simon of the Desert, sitting in 5th.
Definitely, but he can't get too comfortable. There are plenty of other drivers gunning for that position, and Simon has to keep pushing to stay on the pace.
Hold on a moment. What a move. Simon of the Desert has moved up to 4th.
You can't argue with results like that. Simon is really making his mark on this race.
Things don't seem to be going Malero's way in this race, as that's a big gap he'll have to close to even be in with a shout for gaining a place here. Narwhal is running 9th, and trying to catch Gregory Myers.
It's a game of strategy now as Narwhal hunts down Myers. Yes, it's all about choosing the right moments to push and when to conserve energy, waiting for the perfect opportunity to strike.
It's not looking good for Narwhal, who is still behind Gregory Myers, and the gap is increasing. What do you think, Ada? Are there any specific factors that could lead to a driver losing concentration during a race?
There are several factors, Hal. Fatigue, stress, changing track conditions, or even issues within the team can all contribute to a lapse in concentration. It's essential for drivers to stay mentally resilient and adapt to these challenges.
Oh, this is getting intense. Malero needs to keep Simon of the Desert in his sights. It's game on now. Malero has closed the gap to Simon of the Desert. It's now down to 0.3 seconds.
He'll be looking for a mistake to pounce on.
A solid performance from Simon of the Desert, who is holding down fourth.
Definitely how, but Simon can't afford to get complacent. This race is going to require focus and intensity.
Simon of the Desert needs to find some speed, or maybe get more consistent. Ada. He's just put in a slower lap than Malero.
It will be interesting to see if Malero can keep outpacing Simon.
Well, it doesn't look like Malero is going to be much of a threat to anyone soon, let alone Simon of the Desert. It's certainly not going to plan for Malero right now, who is struggling to keep up with Simon of the Desert.
He needs to pick up the pace for sure, but that's not always a real possibility.
Look at the way the drivers are hugging those corners, it's like they're on rails.
Speaking of rails, did you know that the first racetrack was built on a railway in 1896? I bet those drivers were chugging along.
All joking aside, I bet they were. Things have come a long way since then, haven't they?
Definitely. It's amazing to think about the technology that goes into these cars now. I mean, they have more computing power than some countries.
The pressure is on as Simon of the Desert works on catching up to Lucas and Crow.
It's a game of strategy now as Simon hunts down Lucas and Crow.
Simon of the Desert is trying his best, but can't seem to find the pace to keep up with Lucas and Crow at the moment. Malero has a mountain to climb at the moment to close that gap with Simon of the Desert. I expect his only hope at this point is that Simon makes an error.
It's not over until the checkered flag drops, and it's important to maintain concentration until you've made it to the finish line.
Malero appears to be losing ground on Simon of the Desert. He'll need to pick up the pace a bit heading into Sheen Curve to get a good exit and gain some ground.
This is a frustrating situation for Malero, but he can't give up just yet. He'll need to keep pushing and hope for a mistake from Simon.
As we enjoy seeing these titans of the track battle it out, let's not forget about the pit crews. Those guys and girls are like a well-oiled machine themselves.
Absolutely, they're the unsung heroes of the racing world. But you know what they say, behind every great driver is an even greater pit crew.
MkII is on a mission, chasing Kevin Lekmansky, who's currently got a comfortable lead. The gap between MkII and Kevin Lekmansky is getting smaller. Braking alert. I don't think that's the fastest way around Brands Hatch GP.
Did the wind contribute to that? It's blowing at 2 kph out there right now. Exactly what MkII needed. He can't afford to lose any more ground to Lekmansky.
MkII is running second, and trying to keep up with Kevin Lekmansky.
The gap is 0.6 seconds now. MkII is going to have to work a bit harder to close that gap with Kevin.
A strong showing from Ryan Wilson, who is currently 7th. Hold on a moment. Look at this Ada, what a shame for Ryan Wilson. He's lost P7 to Gregory Myers, and that's got to hurt.
That's some bad luck for Ryan. He just couldn't hold on to it, but he can always regroup and get on the attack. Yes, but Wilson has to keep his focus and drive with intensity. There's still a long way to go in this race.
This is where the race gets really interesting. MkII is closing in on Kevin Lekmansky.
One important aspect here is choosing the right braking points. MkII needs to be precise to avoid overshooting and losing valuable time.
It looks like Kevin Lekmansky is pulling away from MkII. The gap is continuing to grow as they head through Druids Bend. It doesn't seem like things are going to plan for Lucas and Crow as there is a big gap ahead.
Lucas and Crow certainly isn't going to be close enough to mount any kind of challenge soon unless it's down to a mistake from Simon.
This is where the skill and precision of the drivers really comes into play. MkII is chasing Kevin Lekmansky in P1. It's not going to plan for MkII, who is trailing behind Kevin Lekmansky, and the gap is widening. He may not have an answer for this right now.
This is not ideal for MkII, but there's still time to turn this around. He'll need to focus and not let that gap get any bigger.
We've certainly seen some of the drivers get it wrong today.
Anyone lost can just follow the trail of skid marks. I hear it's the latest form of GPS navigation.
Let's hope the other drivers don't follow suit. We might end up with a bumper car race instead of a high-speed competition.
At least we'd have something to fall back on if we ever get bored of regular racing. Bumper cars might be the next big thing.
The delta between Gregory Myers in 7th and Malero remains over a second, but Gregory Myers is not letting up. Good news for Gregory Myers, the gap to Malero has decreased. It's now down to 66.7 seconds. The battle for P1 is heating up as MkII tries to catch Kevin Lekmanski in P1. Breaking development. It's looking good for MkII, who has gained a place after passing Kevin Lekmanski. This is a thrilling battle as Kevin Lekmanski edges closer to MkII in their fight for P1. Kevin Lekmanski is not able to keep his pace consistent, and is currently 1.07 seconds down.
Lekmanski needs to regroup and refocus and knock it up a notch.
That won't be ideal for Kevin Lekmanski.
Oops, Kevin is going to be wishing that hadn't happened.
It's like MkII has saved all his energy for this final stretch.
He's going to need to make some more room on that trophy shelf back home.
The leader has just finished the race. A fantastic result for MkII.
You can see the sheer determination on MkII's face as that becomes a win for the history books. That's the mark of a true champion, folks.
Simon of the Desert never gave up. He drove with heart and determination, ultimately securing a well-deserved second-place finish. Excellent focus from Kevin Lekmanski to secure a fantastic third place on the podium.
Great job bringing it home.
Finishing 4th, 5th, and 7th is Lukashen Crow, David Zahn, and Gregory Myers, with Malero in 6th. Stefano Amadei brings home 8th. Ryan Wilson end in 9th. Welcome to Great Britain, where the sun is shining and the engines are revving for today's race at Brands Hatch GP. Starting from pole position is a great opportunity for Ryan Wilson to take control of the race.
He can't let his guard down. The other drivers will be gunning for him.
Starting on the front row is a great opportunity for Stefano Amadei to challenge for the lead.
He can't count his chickens before they've hatched. There is a long way to go.
Gregory Myers is holding down the fort in third place.
A strong grid position, and he'll be expecting a solid result today.
Watch out for Malero, starting from the fourth grid position in today's race.
Malero will be ready to show what he's made of.
At fifth, we have the one and only David Zahn.
The American driver will be focused on a good result from here.
Holding strong in sixth place is Lucas Crow.
Lucas Crow will be taking no prisoners today.
In the middle of the pack, we have Kevin Lekmansky starting from the seventh position on the grid.
That ASRL T70 MkII Spyder looks like it has some potential.
On the eighth grid slot we have Simon of the Desert.
The American driver has been driving the wheels off the ASRL T70 MkII Spyder in practice.
Our ninth place starter, MkII, is a driver who knows how to make up ground on the track. From the middle of the pack, we have Narwhal in 10th place on the starting grid. And they're off. The race is now in motion. This is the moment when drivers must show their mettle and find the perfect line.
This is where the real racecraft comes into play. The drivers will be looking for any opportunity to make a move and gain an advantage.
It's all about finding those gaps and making the most of them, especially in these early stages of the race.
And with so many talented drivers on the grid, you know we're going to see some incredible overtakes here in the first sector.
It's not just about making a move, it's about doing it cleanly and without causing any incidents. This is going to be one hell of a race, I can already feel it.
The first lap can always be a bit of a melee as everyone tries to establish themselves. It's easy for inexperienced racers to blow it in T1.
As the tires come up to temp, their available grip is changing, and the drivers that manage this transition best are likely to make progress through the field. Simon of the Desert will be studying the nearby drivers and looking for anything that could give them an advantage.
Like gladiators, they enter Hal, but instead of lions and swords, our champions fight in an arena of tarmac, and with fire-breathing machines of cutting-edge materials, designed to explore the very limits of physics itself in what can sometimes be very much a fight to the death.
Every lap is an opportunity for Malero to learn just a little bit more to shave a few tenths or hundredths off his times.
The drivers will be jostling for the best position Hal. Some of them may not make it to the second lap in one piece.
Settling into a rhythm is going to be crucial here. MkII is on a mission, chasing David Zahn, who's desperately trying to stay ahead.
The gap between them is now just over 0.3 seconds.
A great moment for MkII, who has just gained a place and moved up the standings. Hold that thought. Now I may be wrong here, but I'm not sure that's the racing line.
David is not going to be happy about that. Yes, MkII is driving with real focus and precision, and it's paying off.
Things are heating up as Malero tries to close the gap to Ryan Wilson. Wait. A great pass for Malero, swapping places with Ryan Wilson to move up the field.
It's all about finding the perfect opportunity. Malero needs to stay patient and wait for Wilson to make a mistake.
The race is really heating up. Ryan Wilson is hunting down Malero with everything he's got.
No doubt, both drivers know that one mistake could cost them the position. It's a test of nerves as much as skill.
These drivers are walking a razor's edge between pushing the limits and making costly errors.
Absolutely. It's all about finding that sweet spot where you're pushing the car to its limits without crossing the line into reckless driving. The gap between them is just over 0.3 seconds. Can MkII close that gap and get back in range? I can't see it happening at this point.
We're starting to see who really has the pace now in this race as MkII is starting to climb all over the back of Kevin Lekmanski. Any closer and he may need to pop the boot.
Absolutely. Kevin is really making that car as wide as possible, not giving MkII an inch of space. It's going to take something special for MkII to get past him.
The pressure is on as MkII tries to catch up to Kevin Lekmanski.
MkII needs to focus to have a chance at getting past Lekmanski.
The gap between MkII and Kevin Lekmanski may be wide, but that doesn't mean MkII is safe. He's got to maintain concentration and avoid any lapses in performance.
That's right, and Lekmanski knows to keep pushing hard and driving his own race. He can't let MkII off the hook.
Oh, this is getting intense. MkII is just a few car lengths behind Kevin Lekmanski. Ryan Wilson is pushing really hard, but as we know, pushing too hard can lead to other mistakes, like locking up the brakes or missing a shift. Ryan Wilson is on a charge. His split time shows he's upped his pace.
Ryan appears to be pushing. Hopefully he can keep it together.
The pursuit is on. MkII is closing the gap on Gregory Myers, determined to claim P4. Look at that. MkII is hot on the tail of Kevin Lekmanski.
The racing is getting tight between MkII and Lekmanski as they battle for P6. No doubt, both drivers know that one mistake could cost them the position. It's a test of nerves as much as skill.
This is where the race gets really interesting. Simon of the Desert is closing in on Narwhal.
We'll have to wait to see if Simon can use the draft to his advantage, or if the lack of downforce will hinder his progress.
This is going to be a nail-biter. MkII is defending for his life, but Kevin Lekmanski is right there doing everything he can to force a mistake. Breaking news, folks. Oh dear, Stefano Amadei has had an incident.
It's a real shame. Until this point in the race he'd been looking at a decent result.
MkII wants to get into Kevin Lekmanski's slipstream.
It looks like MkII has the speed to make a move. I just hope he can do it cleanly.
Kevin Lekmanski is in fourth, and is being closely chased by MkII, who is just 0.1 seconds behind. Impressive driving from Kevin Lekmanski, who has managed to extend his lead over MkII. It looks like MkII will have to regroup and try to make up that lost ground.
It's clear that Lekmanski is dominating right now. He's making it very difficult for MkII to catch up.
MkII is running fifth, and trying to catch Kevin Lekmanski. Kevin Lekmanski wants to find a way round MkII.
And Kevin is poised to capitalize on any mistake. It's just a matter of who cracks first.
Pushing too hard can lead to mistakes, and we're seeing that now. That car is really unsettled from being pushed for every last bit of speed. It looks like we might get a battle between MkII and Kevin Lekmanski.
This is where the race gets really exciting. Both drivers will be pushing to the limit to gain the advantage.
Every move counts now as Narwhal works to reel in MkII and overtake for P5.
This is not going to be an easy pass to make.
The battle for P6 is heating up as Simon of the Desert tries to catch Narwhal in P6. Great effort from Simon of the Desert. His last lap was the best we have seen from him. Hold on a moment. Big gains for MkII as they move up the field, leaving Narwhal behind.
Absolutely. MkII is showing great pace and determination, but he can't get too confident. There are still plenty of challenges ahead.
It's neck and neck, the closest battle we've seen in a while.
It's going to be a close one. MkII will have to push hard to create an opportunity.
Narwhal is on a mission, chasing MkII, who's desperately trying to stay ahead. The adrenaline is pumping as Simon of the Desert gets within striking distance of MkII in their race for sixth. Looks like Kevin Lekmanski is really hitting those curbs aggressively, which can unsettle the car and cause handling issues.
Indeed, taking too much curb can upset the car's balance, leading to oversteer or understeer. This is where every inch counts. Lech Mansky is pushing hard to close the gap on Myers. Absolutely, precision and control are key here. Knowing when to push and when to hold back can be the difference between winning and losing.
Coming into clearways, the fight for fifth is heating up. Neither driver wants to be the first to blink. Simon of the Desert has just put in a faster lap than Lucas and Crow, so that's going to give him something to worry about. Wait, I don't think that's the fastest way around Brands Hatch GP. This is a thrilling battle as David Zahn edges closer to Malero in their fight for P9.
It's a fine line between pushing the car to its limits and losing control. Zahn is really walking that fine line.
Adam Keefe is giving it his all, chasing down Kevin Lech Mansky in P3. It seems like Adam Keefe is struggling. His last lap time was a bit off the pace of Kevin Lech Mansky.
Hopefully Adam Keefe can find some of that missing time and get it back.
Kevin Lech Mansky is holding third, but Adam Keefe is right on his tail.
It's not over yet. Adam Keefe is right on Kevin's tail, and if he can find just a little bit of extra speed, he might be able to make a move.
The pressure is on as Adam Keefe tries to catch up to Kevin Lech Mansky.
I would not be surprised to see him get this pass completed soon.
This is where the skill and precision of the drivers really comes into play. David Zahn is chasing Malero in P8. Wait, an impressive showing from David Zahn, who has gained positions and left Malero in the dust.
Go, 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 that's what we want to see.
The pursuit is on. Adam Keefe is closing the gap on Kevin Lech Mansky, determined to claim P3. Hold the phone. That won't be ideal for Ryan Wilson. These drivers are walking a razor's edge between pushing the limits and making costly errors.
Absolutely, it's all about finding that sweet spot where you're pushing the car to its limits without crossing the line into reckless driving.
Wow, Stefano Amadei is really pushing it. He's coming up fast to Narwhal and there's no way he can make that turn. Stop the press. Heartbreak for Stefano Amadei as they slip down the field.
That's got to be frustrating, but Stefano is a skilled driver, and he's got what it takes to battle back up the field.
Wow, Adam Keefe is really pushing hard to catch up to Kevin Lech Mansky.
That's right, Hal. The pressure can easily get the best of even seasoned drivers. The fans are on the edge of their seats, waiting to see who will come out on top in this epic showdown.
Oh, this is getting intense. Ryan Wilson is just a few car lengths behind Adam Keefe. It looks like Adam Keefe is in control. He's ahead of Ryan Wilson by over a second, and it doesn't look like he's going to be challenged anytime soon.
That's right, Adam Keefe is showing some great form and it looks like Wilson won't be able to catch up, barring any mistakes.
Look at that, Ryan Wilson is hot on the tail of Adam Keefe. Looks like that's a mistake from Malero. This could be costly. The race is really heating up. Adam Keefe is hunting down Kevin Lech Mansky with everything he's got. Ryan Wilson is pushing really hard, but as we know, pushing too hard can lead to other mistakes, like locking up the brakes or missing a shift.
Don't forget the role of aerodynamics. Wilson should use slipstreaming to his advantage and close the gap to Adam Keefe.
Kevin Lech Mansky is placed second at the moment, and hoping to keep his distance ahead of Adam Keefe, who is 0.3 seconds behind. Kevin Lech Mansky could be on a charge here, Ada. He's just put in a quicker lap than Adam Keefe.
We will have to see if Adam Keefe has got any answers for that.
Hold on to your hats, folks. Adam Keefe is right on the heels of Kevin Lech Mansky, and we're in for a wild ride. This one's going to be tough. Kevin Lech Mansky is getting his elbows out, and there may not be enough time left for Adam Keefe to make a move.
Yeah, it's going to be tough for Adam Keefe to make up that gap, especially with Lech Mansky defending so well.
Things are heating up as Adam Keefe tries to close the gap to Kevin Lech Mansky.
You can see that car bouncing around as it rides the curbs. It's a risky move that could end in disaster.
The battle for P3 is heating up as Ryan Wilson tries to catch Adam Keefe in P3.
Ryan is really pushing the limits. He's riding the curbs and hustling that ASRL T70 MkII Spyder like a boss.
Hold that thought. Oh dear, Narwhal has had an incident.
Did the wind contribute to that? It's blowing at 1 kph out there right now.
This is what racing is all about. Two fierce competitors pushing each other to the limit. Breaking news, folks. It's a tale of two drivers right now, with Ryan Wilson gaining places and Adam Keefe losing them.
Absolutely, Hal, but there's still a long way to go in this race, and Ryan can't afford to get complacent. This is the moment where legends are made. These drivers will go down in history as the ones who fought tooth and nail for the top spot.
Things are going according to plan for Simon of the Desert, who is currently 5th.
That's right, Simon can't afford to make any mistakes or let up. Every point counts in this championship.
It's all about consistency for Narwhal, who is currently 7th. Looks like Kevin Lekmansky is really hitting those curbs aggressively, which can unsettle the car and cause handling issues.
Indeed, taking too much curb can upset the car's balance, leading to oversteer or understeer. It's a game of strategy now as Kevin hunts down Myers. Yes, it's all about choosing the right moments to push and when to conserve energy, waiting for the perfect opportunity to strike.
Ryan Wilson is running 4th and trying to catch Adam Keefe. Oh, this is getting intense. Kevin Lekmansky is just behind Gregory Myers.
If Lekmansky pushes too hard, he might end up taking the scenic route, and nobody's got time for sightseeing during a race.
Every move counts now as Ryan Wilson works to reel in Adam Keefe and overtake for P3. This is what high-octane racing looks like. Kevin Lekmansky is breathing down the neck of Gregory Myers, not giving him any room to relax. Braking alert. Fantastic move from Kevin Lekmansky, who has just gained a position.
That's what we like to see. Lekmansky is really showing his class today. And it's not just about skill and talent. It's about who has the nerves of steel to handle the pressure and make the right decisions at the right time.
Looks like we might have a great battle starting here between Gregory Myers in 2nd and Adam Keefe. It's been tense with a gap of only 0.3 seconds. Pushing too hard can lead to mistakes, and we're seeing that now. That car is really unsettled from being pushed for every last bit of speed. Gregory Myers is giving it his all, chasing down Kevin Lekmansky in P1. A tough moment for Gregory Myers, who has just lost a place, now in 3rd.
Yes, but he can't give up. There's still plenty of time left in this race, and Myers needs to stay focused and keep pushing.
Even though Gregory Myers is a fair way behind Adam Keefe, he can't afford to let his guard down. Adam Keefe is still vulnerable to mistakes.
That's very true, and Myers knows that as well. He's got to drive his own race and wait for Adam Keefe to make a mistake to have any chance of overtaking.
Malero could be looking for a way up the inside of Narwhal.
I might have said this before, but dog, bone, you know the rest.
Hold that thought. What a tight spot for Malero. Lukashen Crow is right on his tail 0.1 seconds away, and Narwhal just inches ahead with a gap of 0.2 seconds. It's a true test of these drivers' racecraft abilities. This is where the skill and precision of the drivers really comes into play. Adam Keefe is chasing Kevin Lekmansky in P1. Ryan Wilson is on a mission, chasing Gregory Myers, who's desperately trying to stay ahead. It seems like Ryan Wilson has got the bit between his teeth, improving on Gregory Myers' lap time there. The pursuit is on. Adam Keefe is closing the gap on Kevin Lekmansky, determined to claim P1.
One important aspect here is choosing the right braking points. Adam Keefe needs to be precise to avoid overshooting and losing valuable time.
These drivers are walking a razor's edge between pushing the limits and making costly errors.
Absolutely. It's all about finding that sweet spot where you're pushing the car to its limits without crossing the line into reckless driving. Sometimes you have to take risks to win, but pushing the car too hard can be a costly mistake. Wilson needs to be careful not to overdo it.
Look at that. Adam Keefe is hot on the tail of Kevin Lekmansky.
Adam Keefe is looking to close the 0.4 second gap and make a pass.
Adam Keefe has just put in a faster lap than Kevin Lekmansky, so that's going to give him something to worry about. The gap between Kevin Lekmansky and Adam Keefe is not insurmountable, but it's going to take a mistake from Kevin Lekmansky to bring Adam Keefe into play. It seems like Kevin Lekmansky is pushing hard, currently on track to record his best lap so far this race. Kevin Lekmansky is placed first at the moment. It looks like Adam Keefe is pushing hard to catch up to Ryan Wilson.
It's a nail-biting race for sure, with both drivers showing incredible skill and determination.
Adam Keefe is pushing hard and has reduced the gap to Ryan Wilson to 2.1 seconds. The gap is just over a second, and I'm sure Adam Keefe is going to do everything possible to try and close the distance. He's not giving up without a fight.
This is where experience comes into play. Ryan has been in this situation before and knows how to defend for position, but Adam Keefe is hungry for success and won't give up easily.
A solid performance from Kevin Lekmansky, who is holding down first. A commanding performance from Kevin Lekmansky, who has increased his lead over Ryan Wilson, putting him firmly in his rearview mirrors.
That's exactly what Lekmansky needed to do.
This is wheel-to-wheel racing at its finest. The drivers are practically glued together as they fight for every inch of track. It's a battle you don't want to miss.
You hit the nail on the head, Hal. The elite drivers truly stand out in moments like these. They have a sixth sense for identifying weaknesses and capitalizing on them with surgical precision.
The gap between Stefano Amadei and Malero is widening. It's now up to 7.2 seconds.
This is a tough situation for Stefano. He'll need to find a way to pick up some speed and close that gap.
Hey, Ada, you've had your fair share of races with little action. How did you handle the situation back in your racing days?
Well, Hal, patience is key in such scenarios. You need to stay focused and be ready to seize any opportunity that comes your way. It's like a game of chess at 200 miles per hour.
The gap between Gregory Myers and Simon of the Desert is pretty substantial right now. It's probably going to take a mistake from Gregory to even allow Simon to get a look in. Simon of the Desert could be on a charge here, Ada. He's just put in a quicker lap than Gregory Myers.
The question now is, can Greg respond to that and pick up the pace? I'm not so sure.
Well, it doesn't look like Ryan Wilson is going to be much of a threat to anyone soon, let alone Kevin Lekmansky.
Every race adds to a driver's experience, both good and bad. It just highlights that Wilson is going to have to get more serious with practice to not get outclassed on the circuit.
Breaking news, folks. A brilliant maneuver from Ryan Wilson, who has just moved up the field.
Impressive. Wilson is really showing his skill and determination out there.
Things don't seem to be going Kevin Lekmansky's way in this race, as that's a big gap he'll have to close to even be in with a shout for gaining a place here.
It's not over until the checkered flag drops, and it's important to maintain concentration until you've made it to the finish line.
It's not looking good for Kevin Lekmansky, who is still behind Adam Keefe, and the gap is increasing. Narwhal is pushing really hard, but as we know, pushing too hard can lead to other mistakes, like locking up the brakes or missing a shift.
The mental game is just as important here. Narwhal must keep his cool while putting pressure on Malero.
The pressure is on as Simon of the Desert tries to catch up to Gregory Myers.
With just 0.4 seconds between them, Simon will need to close the gap to have hopes of a pass.
Simon of the Desert is trying his best, but can't seem to find the pace to keep up with Gregory Myers at the moment.
Simon really needs to push in Halewood's Hill to gain some ground before Myers drives off into the sunset.
So, Ada, considering the high speeds and split-second decision-making involved in racing, what's the impact of even a minor lapse in concentration?
A minor lapse in concentration can have significant consequences. How? It could lead to an off-track excursion, a loss of position, or even a collision. That's why it's crucial for drivers to stay focused and alert throughout the race.
Narwhal is staying focused while chasing Malero in P6.
Absolutely. Precision and control are key here. Knowing when to push and when to hold back can be the difference between winning and losing.
The race is really heating up. Simon of the Desert is hunting down Gregory Myers with everything he's got.
The gap is 0.4 seconds now. Simon is going to have to work a bit harder to close that gap with Myers.
The gap between Simon of the Desert and Gregory Myers is growing. It's now up to 4.8 seconds.
Simon needs to focus and keep pushing, even when things aren't going his way. If he can close the gap down, he may be able to bring the fight to Myers.
Hold the phone. Now I may be wrong here, but I'm not sure that's the racing line.
Brands Hatch GP is always a test for these drivers, and sometimes that's the way it goes.
Things are heating up as Narwhal tries to close the gap to Malero.
The gap between them is just over 0.3 seconds, which can feel like miles if you're trailing and not catching up.
It's looking good for Narwhal, sitting in 7th. Hold on a second. A setback for Narwhal, who has just been passed.
Sucks to be them, Hal.
A strong showing from Stefano Amadei, who is currently 7th. Stop the press. It's true what they say, Ada, you're never completely useless.
Indeed, Hal, you can always be used as a bad example. Absolutely, and he'll need to keep driving with determination to stay in that position.
Breaking update. Disappointing for Stefano Amadei, falling down the order to 9th. As we come into the final moments of this epic race, Ryan Wilson is in the lead.
That's an impressive burst of speed. It's all but said and done now.
And that, folks, is how it's done. A solid performance and great win from Ryan Wilson.
What a display of skill and precision.
A nail-biting finish, but Kevin MkII claims 2nd place. What a race from Gregory Myers, showing his skill and determination for a great 3rd place finish. Taking 4th and 5th is MkII and Simon of the Desert. Malero claims 6th. In 7th, it's David Zahn. Eighth is Stefano Amadei. It's a lovely day for racing here at Brands Hatch GP as we watch these drivers warm up and get ready for the race. Narwhal is on his practice out lap. It's a lovely day for racing here at Brands Hatch GP as we watch these drivers warm up and get ready for the race. Narwhal is on his practice out lap. It's a lovely day for racing here at Brands Hatch GP as we watch these drivers warm up and get ready for the race.